You remain standing. Let's play the Kenya national anthem. Let's have the East Africa national anthem. The East African community anthem.
Ee Mungu twaomba ulinde tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu.
The Saudi Arabia anthem. Thank you very much. Thank you. May we be seated? Thank you very much. I would like to invite Honorable Moses Kuria, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry, Kenya, to take us through the next session. Karibu sana, Mheshimiwa.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. As you've heard, my name is Moses Kuria. I'm the Cabinet Secretary of the Minister for Investment, Trade and Industry for the Republic of Kenya. It is indeed my pleasure to welcome all of you and my brother, His Excellency Khalid Al-Faleh, Minister of Investment in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Ambassador Khalid Salman, Ambassador of Saudi Arabia in Kenya, all the government dignitaries from Saudi Arabia, the private sector from both Kenya and Saudi Arabia, and my colleague, Cabinet Secretary for Labor and Social Protection, the Honorable Francis Bore, who is here with us today, Principal Secretary is present, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I'm a very happy person. Within a very short period, we have managed with a lot of effort and hard work from our teams from Kenya and Saudi Arabia to put together a very sizable business delegation, investment mission and trade mission to look at ways how we can improve the 6 months ago, I went to Saudi Arabia for the first time as a minister, but certainly not for the first time. And over the last 6 months, we've made tremendous progress in terms of crafting what is going to be a very mutually beneficial partnership between Kenya and Saudi Arabia. And in fact, this is a stepping stone for partnership between the GCC, the East African Community, and the 54 countries that make the African Continental Free Trade Area of 1.3 billion people. In the past, there was this belief that Africa is just a basket case. And I think even from, for those of you who have come to Kenya or Africa for the first time, I was with you last night at the airport, and you could see the energy and the numbers and the people from all nationalities, because the whole world is waking up to realize that Africa is the frontier. As we speak today, I am supposed to be at another hotel co-chairing a meeting of trade ministers from Africa. 54 of them, they are now 53 because I'm here, from the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, who are in Nairobi for the second time in under 1 month. So when we are in Kenya, it is not just about Kenya. It is Kenya being a gateway for the rest of Africa. 54 countries, 1.3 billion people, a very growing economy. Today, if Africa was one country or one economy, we could certainly be somewhere around number 8 or 10 to 10 in the G20, way above Saudi Arabia and way above other countries. And so when we are here at the same time, when we have got 54 ministers of trade for Africa meeting at the same time, is a direction of how should you as Saudi businesses look at Kenya. Do not look at Kenya as just Kenya as one country. Look at Kenya as an important gateway, a landing spot from which we can be able to grow partnership between Kenya and Saudi Arabia, and indeed as a south-to-south relationship. I hope that tomorrow we have organized a dinner, a very interesting dinner. Why is it interesting? It is interesting because we are inviting all of you before you go back to Saudi Arabia to meet all these trade ministers of Africa, and so that you can be able to see for yourself the potential of Kenya as an entry point for the rest of Africa. But even beyond that, a similar number of delegation and my counterpart minister from Indonesia who are here on a similar mission. And for me, I'm looking forward to that dinner tomorrow because it is 2 members of G20, Saudi Arabia and Indonesia, having dinner with ministers of trade from Africa. For me, that is the dream. That is the last thing I want to do in life. If I can be able to craft a partnership between south to south, Kenya, Africa, Indonesia, Saudi Arabia, and all the other countries of the global south, so that we can be able to face the challenges and the opportunities we have together. So in this journey, Saudi Arabia for us is a very priority relationship, very growing relationship. We already have very good relations with some of you businesses. 60% of our fertilizers, and Kenya is an agricultural country, come from one of the companies that are here. Maybe they can start up, they know themselves. Yeah, where are they? Mr. Otieno. I even gave him a Kenyan name. He's called Mr. Otieno. Yeah, Mahad & Company, you know, who account for 60% of our fertilizer. We are now having a government-to-government partnership. You can sit down, Mr. Otieno. We have now a partnership with Saudi Aramco. I think Saudi Aramco is in the room as well. I don't know if Saudi Aramco is here. Saudi Aramco is right here. sorry, you have to bear with us for the small room, because compared with the size of Aramco, the room is very small. But now we have got a government-to-government relationship with Aramco for supply of oil fuel on a deferred mode, a very innovative product. Today we've had a very good discussion with the government financial institution from Saudi Arabia, both the Saudi Fund for Development and Exim Bank, to see how we can be able now to even make better that relationship we have with Aramco using Saudi's own financial institutions. There's another company here, El Marai. Where is El Marai? El Marai is yes, 2,400 Kenyans. Actually, 2,480. We always compare notes. Kenyans work for Al Marai. So the next time you take milk, milk in Saudi Arabia, most likely the person who has handled the milk is a Kenyan. So there's a Kenyan in your house, even if you don't know. And I can go on and on and on about very strong partnership for some of the companies who have a very good experience. Now we want to take it forward. I was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we had, Your Excellency, a very successful event where we created the first new export from Kenya to Saudi Arabia. One single day, we exported product worth $12 million in 10 minutes. When we had the regional voluntary credit markets, PIF company, which had the second voluntary carbon credit auction here in Nairobi, in the same hotel that you'll be having dinner tonight and tomorrow night. And most of them were here. Let me recognize those who are here. I think Aramco, you are there. So where is SEC, Saudi Electric Company? Oh, you are here. Thank you very much. SNB were there. Is SNB here? Yes, we were together. At least Sabico was there. Very, very. Who else was there? I think Aqua Power was there. Yes, yeah. Aqua, you were there. I think other companies which are not there. Saudi Airlines, the CEO himself, he was there. Al Ola. Very, 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 very successful event, which also created a new partnership which we want to take forward on the area of the export of carbon credits. Kenya, for your information, our energy is 92% green. I will not embarrass you by asking how much of your energy is green. So, but because of this partnership, we can craft a very good way forward between Kenya and Saudi Arabia. We did sign an MOU between Kenya Development Corporation, represented by one of its investee companies, and RVCM, which is a PIF company, to continue providing a link for Saudi companies to achieve their net zero ambitions using this platform. And it is one that I'm extremely very proud of, and that we are pushing very hard. So let me say this, that as government of Kenya, we are open for business and we are open for investors. And we are going to do, myself, the government and the president, whom we are going to meet in the course of your visit, to send this message that when you come to Kenya, the doors are open, your investments are very safe. We now have got, are working on all the relevant protocols and agreements between our two governments to ensure that we can be able to take this relationship forward. Our Cabinet Secretary for Labor, who is going to tell you more, will give you the numbers that we are working on as our targets for not just domestic workers and the workers that we have been talking about, but real skilled workers, a partnership between your companies and our learning institutions, so that you can be able to use Kenya as a back office for your businesses to work on. So before I invite my colleague, let me just say this. Some 24 years ago, I came to Saudi Arabia for a 1-year contract, to work for 1-year contract with the Rajhi Bank. And I ended up working there for 10 years. I had actually even refused because I was headhunted from Standard Chartered Bank, as you know, is one of the leading banks where I was working here in Nairobi. And I was coming for 1-year contract. And I ended up, I was a single man, I was a bachelor. And my firstborn son was born at Saudi German Hospital in Riyadh. So, and when my son was born, we got an award from Saudi German Hospital because he was the heaviest child. It was a record for Mustashfa Saudi Arabia, 5.5 kg. And I really want to know, I am very sure that this record has not been broken. And I want to make another record because I've just promised my counterpart, Secretary Khalid Al-Fareh, that 2 days every month I will be working from his office, personally, myself. 2 days every month to meet all of you individually, to take forward your project, your investment initiatives, and to make sure, because I like to be pragmatic and to be very hands-on. I'm not very good in literature and theories, but if it comes to practical way of solving problems, of ensuring that we really deepen this relationship. So if you see me here within the next today, tomorrow, that's fine. If you don't get an opportunity, wait for me in my August visit or September visit or November or December. Every month, I will dedicate 2 days to working in Riyadh from the Office of the Minister of Investment to ensure that every other initiative that we start, we solve it. But that is not enough. I hope to hear from my brother Khalid Al-Fareh that also he's going to work in Kenya for another 2 days. So that you can, 4 days. Buy one, get one free. So what this means and what it says to you is that you are not on your own. If you make your decisions, we are right there with you. We are not throwing you in the jungle. Tomorrow, we hope you go to our national parks to see the animals. But as you shall see tomorrow, you are not alone. Even in the national park, the government of Kenya, and I've talked to my counterpart, the Minister for Tourism, is going to be joining you tomorrow to show you that even when you invest here, you are not going to be alone in this jungle, that the government of Kenya is going to be with you. So with those very few remarks, let me now invite my colleague, Florence Bore, the Honorable Florence Bore, Cabinet Secretary for Labour, to tell us about what we are doing to strengthen the labour relations between Kenya and Saudi Arabia. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Minister for Trade, Moses Kuria. Minister of Investment from Saudi Arabia, and your teams and everyone here, good afternoon. I'm happy, I'm privileged to be with this team today. I'm very excited that we've been able to do a mark in this forum, and we have done, as a Ministry of Labour and Social Protection, we have done an MOU with a company called Arco Human Resource Company from Saudi Arabia, and we've been able to clinch a deal, and we have signed an agreement to give them 10,000 Kenyan workers within a period of 8 years. However, we still have a number of Kenyans that we can supply to Saudi Arabia. We have a target of 1 million Kenyans to give you. Kindly, we look forward to the ministry, to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to give us more companies to come and take more Kenyans, because we have very well-trained Kenyans, very disciplined, and very young in age, that they can give service to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So we are looking for more MOUs to sign. That is just the first. We also have a job order for 200 nurses that we've already advertised, and I'm sure in the next 2 months they should be in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So this is good. Going forward, we look forward for more engagements. I'm happy because we had an engagement with the Minister of Labour of Saudi Arabia in January, and these are the fruits of those engagements. And I appeal to my colleague Moses Kuria, as you make those deals in trade, kindly remember us in the Ministry of Labor so that we can work together. And going forward, we shall have offices here in Kenya and also in Saudi Arabia to make our work easy and look forward for greater things for our two countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my colleague Florence. And before I invite my colleague, let me also say that we're inviting you this afternoon to a visit to the Nairobi Securities Exchange. The CEO is here. And yesterday I challenged the CEO that I know there is Tadawul is here. Is Tadawul is here? Yeah? Yes, you are sitting there together. And I challenged the CEO of NSE yesterday that by the end of this visit, Saudi investors must have capacity and capability to invest directly in the Nairobi Securities Exchange. And Kenyan investors must have capability to invest directly in Tadawul. I think there's a direct, where's the director friend? Yeah, we met in December. So now please walk the talk. So, and thank you, you may be seated. So, and Jeff, we look forward to you hosting us this afternoon. Jeff, just for record and for people who are here, the market cap of this room is somewhere in the region of $2.5 trillion. The companies that are represented here. Don't be intimidated. Stand your ground and be firm. And finally, I met somebody from STC when you came here. Where is STC? And they promised during the auction that you bring me my old number, my Jawal, that I was using here. So I hope you have come here with my Jawal. So thank you very much. So with those few remarks, let me now, it is my honor and distinguished privilege to invite my brother, my colleague, my partner, His Excellency Mr. Khalid Al-Fareh, the Minister for Investment for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Welcome.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Your Excellency, my partner, friend and brother, Honorable Moses Kuria, Your Excellency Flores Bore, Minister of Labor, Excellencies from our hosts, the Republic of Kenya, and of course my friends and partners, their excellencies, the rest of the delegation from Saudi Arabia. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good afternoon. And it's really wonderful to be back to Kenya. My first time in Nairobi. The first time I came when I was back in Aramco in the private sector myself. And landed in a regional airport and visited the national reserves that the delegation will be able to see today, specifically the Masai Mara, which is of course the world's best destination for nature and eco tourism. I want to start first of all by saying that the reason we're here in such quick response to the invitation of the Honorable President, Dr. William Ruto. Within a few days, we got the invitation. We forwarded it to our leadership, and within hours, we were directed by His Majesty King Salman and His Royal Highness Prince Mohammed bin Salman to assemble and show up to meet the request of the President without delays. I can tell you that some of the visits will be undertaken to some G20 countries in the next few weeks and months have been outstanding for years. We're trying to schedule them. But this is an invitation that clearly our leadership wanted us to give the highest priority. And we know that the Honorable President this week is hosting an African summit. Other heads of state are here. But he was keen to see the Saudi delegation, particularly from the private sector, here and to have an audience with them, which we hope will be later on this evening, to come up this week, and we responded so positively. I am delighted that our delegation canceled their plans, many of them interrupted business trips or vacations to be here, because we've been eagerly awaiting to come to Kenya. We are in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia believers. In Africa, we are certainly believers in Kenya as a bastion of stability and a hub for Eastern Africa. We believe in the political system you have and its stability, the economic stability we have, and we believe that Kenya can be a great gateway to Eastern Africa and indeed to Central Africa through the economic partnerships that some of them exist today, and many of them will be initiated in the discussions we are undertaking during this visit. I want to pay special tribute to yourself, Excellency. I know you don't look for that, but I think we have to recognize that you have been a dynamo awakening this dormant desire on both sides. Why is Kenya and Saudi Arabia not doing more than they have been doing? So you have been a magnificent bridge between your country, between your two countries, I may say, like your first country, Kenya, and your second country, Saudi Arabia. And as I listen to you every time we meet, and we've met quite a few times physically, virtually, and here we're visiting for the first time in Nairobi, and see your dynamism, your pragmatism, your ability to connect the dots from trade to investment to human relations to human resources. I feel a little bit of pride that I hope Saudi Arabia has contributed to your DNA. So I see the 10 years that you have spent in Saudi Arabia hopefully have contributed to exposing you, not only to what Saudi Arabia can do, but to what the UAE can do, what the GCC, what the Arab world can do together. I mentioned that Saudi Arabia is a believer in Africa. His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince, before COVID, has been talking to us in government and urging us to get active in linking the African continent to our region and to the kingdom in particular. He has called for a Saudi African summit, a GCC African summit, and an Arab World African summit. And we hope that it will be taking place later on this year in the kingdom, where we will raise the ceiling of the potential between our two peoples, our two regions, and certainly between the kingdom and Kenya. A significant part of the Arab world is African. Saudi Arabia, if you go back into geologic time, used to be part of Africa. You know, the Red Sea fault separated the landmass that is today, Saudi Arabia is part of, which is Western Asia. But in reality, it is clear that our geology, geography, human values are one and the same. And we want to overcome this small sea, this Red Sea barriers and create connectivity logistically, financially through the financial linkages that you addressed in your remarks, and certainly in human sharing of human talent both ways that Her Excellency Flores Bora spoke about in her remarks. We believe G2G relationships between our two countries today are at the highest level, and the Kingdom is eagerly waiting for the visit of the Honorable President to the Kingdom once the dates are established, and certainly during the summit he will be participating. Your frequent visits and your upcoming 2 days a month working routine will only enforce this G2G. But I have to say in this setting that the most resilient part of our relationship is going to rest on the private sector. We in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia are very proud of our performance as a nation at the macroeconomic level. Today, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, under the Vision 2030 plan driven by His Royal Highness the Crown Prince, leapfrogged in 6 short years from number 20 in the rank of the G20 countries to number 17. Our goal is to be 15 by the end of this decade. We believe we will exceed it, but certainly meet it. Our GDP has grown by about 67% in those years, and we are now in the league of $1 trillion plus economy. Last year we grew at 8.7% GDP, and we're continuing to grow very healthy in the first half of this year. Saudi companies, as I mentioned, are our source of pride in the Kingdom, in addition to performance at the macro level nationally. We have some of the world's best global champions in almost every sector, and you know them as well as I do, Your Excellency. I will not recite them by name. You kindly called on them to stand up, and you recognize them. And in addition to the ones you mentioned, the top 100 Saudi companies are all able, willing to come and invest in Kenya, not only to address a significant market of about 55 million people, a GDP of about 120 billion US dollars for Kenya, which is going to be growing at a very fast pace, especially if Kenya's friends like the Kingdom believe in it and continue to invest in it, which we do. But we believe through Kenya we will be easily reaching all of East Africa. I was very, very pleased and touched when you played the national or the anthem of the group of Eastern Africans. I think that shows the depth and the strength of your connectivity with your region. And scale does matter. But talking about scale, Africa, if we think in terms of decades, is going to be the fastest growing region on the planet in the rest of this century. We believe the rest of this century is Africa's century. Africa is going to be a huge market, and we believe the agreement that was just concluded for the Pan-Africa Trade Union, 54 nations that have the demographics, have natural resources, have many location, and can address many global challenges. We believe it is where companies that are destined to grow and that are thinking long term need to invest. And our investment strategy, just conceptually speaking, is going to be looking for hubs within Africa and spokes for the rest of Africa. And I think this trade agreement is going to allow us to invest in places like South Africa, for the southern part of the continent, Kenya, for the eastern part of the continent. We're already strong investors in Northern Africa, and we'll do the same on the west of the continent. I have been watching Kenya, by the way, for a long time, from my days in Aramco, and I remember negotiating with some technology companies to bring their research centers to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. This is going back 18 years ago or 19 years ago. And they were telling me that they're already committed with major investments in research and development and human resource development to Kenya and Nairobi. And I used to be surprised, and that got me interested on why is Kenya so attractive to companies like IBM, like Google, and others. And the more I read, the more I learned about your work ethic, your talent, your government support for private sector, and the stability I mentioned in my opening remarks. And today, I think we are opening a new chapter in the relationship between Saudi Arabia and Kenya, building on a strong G2G, strong developmental support by entities like the Saudi Fund for Development, which has been active in supporting the development of Kenya, by opening a new chapter that is going to be built on private sector from Saudi Arabia participating in what we believe is going to be a fantastic development for Kenya, which will be an example for regional countries that are challenged today to create hope and prosperity for people in Africa in general and Eastern Africa in particular. And we're going to do it by creating what private sector companies are usually looking for. They are accountable to their shareholders. It has to be profitable. It has to be de-risked to a certain degree. So His Excellency Moses Correa and myself have been talking about how do we create the right risk-return trade-off. The private sector will have to take the business risk, the project risk, the financial risk. We need to create to remove the political risk and the regulatory risk that the two governments can provide. I am, enthusiastic and ambitious and optimistic that we're going to create opportunities in almost every sector we could think of. I think logistics and transport is key. We need to create maritime connectivity at a scale that is significant to make export-import, not only between Saudi Arabia and Kenya, very efficient and frictionless, but we need to also allow import, re-export from both countries. We want Kenya to be a re-export hub for the rest of Africa, especially for landlocked countries in the center of the continent, by enabling your ports and inland logistics and connecting it with also aviation logistics through Nairobi Airport and creating multimodal logistics here. So I'm encouraged that we have Red Sea ports with us. I'm encouraged that we have Al Bahri, and I'm encouraged that we have Saudia and Flynas looking at Kenya as a regional hub, not just a point-to-point logistic company. We want to look at creating partnerships in free trade zones here in Kenya, serving the exports of Saudi Arabia. I want Bahri, SABIC, and Aramco to look at Kenya as a potential bonded free zone area from which they can re-export to the region by partnering also with regional distributors and trading company. So that's the short as well as midterm thing that we need to enable. And of course, having His Excellency the CEO of the Saudi Exim Bank with us today will help enable this export, import, and re-export connectivity with the strength of the Saudi Exim Bank, working with the African Exim Bank, working with Saudi and regional banks as well to bring more credit for exports and importers. Tourism, of course, is a no-brainer, literally, because Kenya is a global destination for a unique type of tourism. I practiced it, and I've told everybody that I know that in my many decades of travel, it stands out as my best vacation ever. And and I think just Saudis need to discover it, and we need to create. So I was happy that Sierra today signed an agreement to create tourism travel as well as shipping, and utilize the air travel to also create air freight for the Musafir subsidiary of Sabre. Food security is absolutely keen, and I talked with His Excellency repeatedly, and I think what we discovered through the Russia-Ukraine conflict is food security is essential, but we also need to improve the performance of our two sectors in Saudi Arabia and Kenya and complement each other. You're blessed, you're a country that straddles the equator, I believe, so you have much more rain than we do, but you have much, because of your commitment to the environment, you also have a lot of uncultivated land, and you've been protecting the forests, and you talked about your offsets and carbon credits. We want to keep that and grow it, but at the same time, I think you have the blessing of a lot of uncultivated lands that could be cultivated for the good of humanity, and first and foremost, your people and their food security. So Saudi investment in your agriculture, and bringing technology, bringing best practices, bringing efficient logistics so that you don't lose any of the harvests, bringing Saudi capital and Saudi global connectivity, I think will be good for that cause. And of course, we shouldn't forget the important role of fertilizers, advanced seed development, and we want SABIC agri-nutrients, Ma'aden, and future companies that we will be standing up through the PIF and through other private sector investors like Rajhi International to be investing in your agriculture sector for those good causes. Energy has been the hallmark of Saudi economy and Saudi business and Saudi global investing. And of course, Aramco is with us here. But the new champion for energy is ACWA Power, and we're happy that the vice chairman of ACWA is here. I don't know where Raad is. Okay, he's in the back. He should be here in the front. ACWA today is our biggest global investor, and we're very proud of them. And everywhere we go, they are the most sought after investor. So we're happy that you're 92% renewable. We think we can make you 100% renewable, and we can make Saudi Arabia, we can make Kenya a major exporter of renewable energy to Africa. Is the most energy hungry continent, and as the population multiplies, given your high growth population rate and the lack of access and energy poverty that you have, we want to make sure you access not only energy but green energy. So we believe a grid across Africa is the next global ambition. And we want Saudi Arabia. We're happy that SEC is here. I hope SEC one day will be a global company also that provide grid connectivity, not just production, which I already think ACWA is going to be doing. Also, ACWA is the world's largest desalinator of water, both seawater as well as other sources of water. So we want to make sure that areas that experience water stress in Kenya have the solutions, and they have signed, by the way, agreements for desalination and renewables in places like Senegal, South Africa, Morocco, and others, which we'll be happy to see extended in this region through a foothold that hopefully will be established for ACWA here in Africa. Obviously, financial services, your former life profession, Minister, is an area that knows no limit. We cannot, what makes the world go around, and investing and business go around is efficient financial intermediation and financial services. And I'm happy that Tadawul and your stock exchange are in discussion. In addition to what you mentioned, investing, financial investors, private equity, pensions from Saudi Arabia, accessing the African market through Kenya and so forth. I would love to see some Saudi companies also, especially Saudi subsidiaries that are set up as JVs or standalone, be listed in the Nairobi exchange. We want to encourage that. And we would love, recently one of our Saudi companies established an international arm that was listed in London. And we want to see Nairobi become the hub for the African continent, and we want to be investing in it. So financial services is very important. We want to bring asset managers here. We want to access every avenue of financial. Fintech, I understand you have over 50 fintech companies here. Saudi Arabia is a thriving hub for fintech as well, and going from fintech to broader entrepreneurship and startups. We are increasingly engaged globally. The old model for Saudi investment attraction was focused on the Fortune 500 companies. We limited ourselves to the big companies. Some of them that we were trying to get 10 years ago are no longer in the Fortune 500. Some of them are no longer around. And new companies that we did not target 10 years ago are now in the top 20 to top 30. So I think we have to learn those lessons and realize that there are startups in Kenya that will be one day not only unicorns, but also hopefully global Fortune 500. We want to help them grow in Saudi Arabia. You mentioned about creating a desk for Saudi Arabia. We want to create an incubator, accelerator, accessing Saudi VC, accessing market, accessing all of the enablers that we have for startups, because the kingdom is turbocharging our startup and entrepreneurship system. So these are just a sample of things that come to mind. Obviously, manufacturing, food processing, and other sectors that mining, of course, is a huge area for growth. So anything that's available in mining, especially critical materials that could go into our industrial sector in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, we would love to help identify the resource, process as much as possible in Kenya, and then integrate it into the value chains in Saudi Arabia. And last but not least, I want to salute you for partnering with us on climate and sustainability and the auction on offsets. This is a key area for the kingdom. Tadawul has started this practice, and I think it's going only to increase. The kingdom by nature is going to be a huge emitter of carbon given the intensity of our production of the world's energy, and therefore we need all of the offsets we can get, and I think we could jointly invest in improving or increasing your offset capacity, but also in buying some of those credits for Saudi companies that have committed to net zero. I hope the rest of the visit will be productive. My last comment is to invite all of our colleagues from Kenya, public and private sector, to come and visit us. I'd love to create a forum like this in Riyadh and to host it personally and return some of the hospitality. I would love to take you up on your target, Your Excellency, Minister, on the 1 million Kenyans. We love Kenyans. We believe in your work ethic. And not only do we want the number, we want them to be also of the highest level within our labor pyramid, earning very healthy salaries, contributing to their families, to your nation, as they contribute to what we know is going to be unprecedented growth in Saudi Arabia and the remainder of this decade and beyond. And I will match your bet. So we'll see who spends more days. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Before we do our press briefing, just have a small gift for His Excellency Khalid on behalf of the Saudi delegation. So please, Your Excellency, if you could come forward and receive the gift.
Can I show them?
Sure.
This is your national dress.
Yes.
And the coffee, okay.
I think you wear this, right?
Yes, we can put
I
it.
will wear it.
You can consider adding it to the Saudi
Not
national
just
dress.
put it on your shoulder. No? Help me wear it. أنا يلبسونها في اوكي.
It's Masai dress.
Masai dress.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. This is our best tea.
Okay.
As you know, Kenya is one of the leading countries for our tea. And of course, our coffee.
Your coffee. Okay. Moses in the Bible, who had a lot of gold, all of his gold came from this mine. So you are following the steps of King Moses. And we hope through the partnership that you have created over many decades of your relationship with the kingdom, and that you continue to build, you will create mountains of wealth, of wealth for Kenya,
Yes.
through relationship with the rest of the world, including Saudi Arabia.
Thank you.
Thank you. And this, it says Mahd al-Dahab here.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, and I also have for you a box of dates. I'm sure you. Huh?
Yes.
So your son, if he eats, he will grow even faster. Because this is rich in energy.
Come this way.
Okay.
So that you are not.
Okay, okay.
You can easily see.
لا خلاص.
Good.
Yes, for Florence.
Okay.
No.
So we'll give Florence. So being interested in labor,
Yes.
our ministry works with, well, first of all, this is very colorful. I think it's, Kenya also is a colorful nation with your art. So in the southwest of the kingdom, we have this unique form of art
Wow.
called Gat. And this is handwritten, hand painted by villagers there, that we create for them the opportunity to preserve their heritage and culture. And they paint, they make these.
From where? South?
Yeah, this is from Asir.
From
Abha,
Asir,
Abha?
Khamis?
Thank you.
These only goes to Gatsini. We have and the box is also hand.
Shukran.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
June, you can take over.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. John here will guide the team for our press conference up there.